Alright, welcome to day 3 of 100 days of SwiftUI. Today I'm going to go over arrays, dictionaries, sets, and enums. So I figured out a way I want to organize my code. I'm just going to I'm going to save the code by day and specifically what we did. That way, if I ever need to call back to it, I know where it's at. So first will be arrays. Let me open this up. I also started taking notes over here, so as I speak I could go over what crossed my mind. So the first thing we went over was arrays. Over here is an example of array with strings, over here is an array with integers, and then array of decimals or doubles. Over here we printed and we used the example of 0 because arrays start with 0. Using the append function we could add data to the array. So right here Beatles dot append, and then to prove that it worked I did print Beatles 6. So no val is the one that appears, and that would be the 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 option. So that worked. Right here, left first, this is a way we could this is an example of adding two of the options together. We did left first Beatle equals Beatles 0, left second Beatle equals Beatles 1. We added them. What else? Right here was another example of how we can create the array. Instead of just doing the square brackets and then listing out the options, we could do array and then the I forget what they're called, the alligator brackets, to identify what type of data we're going to store. Over here it's integers, and then we do score.append 100, 80, and then 85, and then we printed score 1, that came out to 80. Over here we did another example of how to do an array variable album with the first data being folklore, and then we could append more to it, and then we use the count function we can count how long how much data is in the array. I'm sorry, my dad's just leaf blowing outside, so I hope it doesn't show up in the video, but I'm not going to restart. So what else? Over here we use the count. We use the remove function to specify what we want to remove. So the characters Lana, Pam, Ray, Sterling. Remove at 2. So that should have removed 0, 1, 2. Should have removed Ray. And then characters.remove all. That way we can remove all of them. Let's see. Count 3. So originally we had 4. After removing number 2, we have 3. And then removing all, and we counted, it's just 0, so those worked. What is this? Contain function array. Over here we use the contain function, so we made a new array called Bond movies, and then print Bond movies contain frozen, should be none. False. Yeah, so false doesn't have any that contain frozen. What else? We use the sorted to sort them alphabetically. So we made the cities and then sorted them alphabetically. Came out to Budapest, London, Rome, Tokyo. And then reverse function to print them reverse order. And he mentioned something about how it doesn't just reorganize it, but it identifies that it's reversed. So if we do want to check, Trump shows up second, which makes sense. I think. Alright, well anyways, that's arrays. I already kind of know those, so I don't want to spend too much time. Next was dictionaries. This is kind of new to me, but I also did something like it in MongoDB. Thing with dictionaries is we create a dictionary of data similarly to an array. Let me try to remember variable employee. Yeah, I'm gonna pull up the array just to see the different syntax. Albums and So dictionary is something like this, where we could call, where we do employee 2 and then we identify by job, location, or name and stuff like that. Right here, name. I commented this out for an example, but name Taylor Swift, job singer, location Nashville, and then when we print it, print employee name. And this default unknown is so that if it doesn't recognize a name title, it'll default to unknown. So if I do it right now, it'll show all of them, or it should. Not sure if it's loading or exit out of this. Oh, yeah, there it is. So right here, job title, name Taylor Swift, job title Nashville. This shows up from earlier. But right here, Taylor Swift, singer Nashville. I'm calling the name, job, and location. If I comment this out, it should change to unknown. Unknown singer Nashville. So yeah, that's what the default unknown does. This is an example of a string boolean array in a dictionary. So we're using arrays to create dictionaries. That's what it was. So string boolean array to make a dictionary with them. This is an integer string array. So we could call an integer, but it'll give us an array as a result, or a string as a result. So right here, if I call 2012, it's gonna call it's gonna say London. Or should, yeah, right here, London. This is another example of a string integer. We could the array is called heights, or the variable is called heights. Then we can call each heights right here. I didn't print it, but so it's gonna show up on the right. But yeah, I don't want to spend too much time. It's almost time for a flower, so I'm just trying to go through real quick so I could finish my video. But this is a string to string. Over here, I wrote that if we within a dictionary, if we rewrite the same string, we could overwrite it. So over here it says Batman, arch nemesis is the Joker, and he gave the example if your friends are arguing with you and he says actually Penguin is his arch nemesis, you could just rewrite it to Batman, Penguin, and then when you print it, it should show up as 2. Because even though there's 3 lines of code here, there's only 2 variables mentioned, or 2 data points, and I just replaced one. So that's Penguin. Okay, that's dictionaries. Now to sets. Sets we didn't spend too much time on. He just gave us teaching us the major differences. Sets have no order, better for lookup functions, especially for large data sets. So he's given us the example if we have a really large data set with thousands of data points in there, and we do a contains function, sets would work. Doing it with sets would work much quicker than doing it with arrays. Another thing is it doesn't have an order, so whenever I print it, it's going to randomize essentially. And another big thing is we use inserts to add instead of append for arrays. That was the two biggest differences, and yeah, and I believe that you could have duplicates and sets. Now finally, enums, which stand for enumerations. This is my favorite, and I think this could be the most useful. The problem that it's solving is if we're doing a variable selected and we keep overwriting, let's say Monday, Tuesday, and then we accidentally put January, a month instead of a day, would we notice it? Or if we put a space at the end of Friday, would we notice it? So the point of enums is that we identify certain libraries that have limitations. For example, there's only 7 days in a week, so we could do like an enum. It's almost like a mini library. So an enum weekday, case Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and then we make the variable day equal to weekday.monday. So that's going to be Monday, and I could do that. So if I ever want to overwrite day again, I could just do weekday.tuesday. So the point is this: is if I accidentally put a month instead of a day, my code will recognize it, and it won't work. It'll warn me. He also mentioned that we don't have to put weekday. We could just put dot once we identify the first thing. And I did my own little example here of enum month. and I didn't write case every time. You could just do commas to identify. Month, January, February, March, April. I'm not sure if I spelled January here right, but for example, I did variable month equal month.march, so it should be March. And then I did this print to identify. So I said today is month dash day. So it should come out to March since this is the most recent variable identified, and it should come out to Friday since it's the most recent day variable. Let's see. Yeah, today is March dash Friday. Okay, that sums up day 3. Starting to pick up, definitely in difficulty. If I didn't know a lot of this stuff earlier, it would have taken much longer to get my head wrapped around it. I want to spend more time doing my own little practice tests instead of just following along and moving on. It's like something right here. He didn't tell me to do any type of month, but I did it for my own sake, just to practice. But yeah, that's day 3, and I'll be back tomorrow for day 4.